Hey you! Thanks for stopping by! Last year I made a video about the most disturbing manga I ever read. It is the second most watched video on my channel. Yay! I'm glad people are watching a video I worked so hard on. Some people didn't find it as disturbing as I did, which is fine. This means I brought more attention to slave contract, which I have mixed feelings about. Recently found a Goodreads page about it, so people are talking about it now. This means 18 people on Goodreads want to read this manga because of me? I don't know how to feel about that. Speaking of slave contract, on my video someone commented that they came across a manga called Humiliation Diary, which is by the same mangaka. From master BDSM artist Goro Horikawa. Out of morbid curiosity, I checked it out, and boy oh boy, I can't wait to share my thoughts with you. I don't know whether to thank this person for bringing this to my attention, or send you a bill for my therapy. I said I would check out the mangaka's other works, and now that time has come. As usual, I will be careful how I describe certain scenes to please YouTube. Graphic scenes will either not be shown or censored. Let's review another Goro Horikawa work. This is Humiliation Diary. The story opens with a father meeting with a businessman. The businessman's son wants to marry his daughter, but the father is hesitant. The father doesn't say why he's against the marriage. The businessman casually mentions he's thinking of cutting ties with their company, unaware that the daughter was listening in on their conversation. Losing their business will ruin the father's company. He knows it's blackmail, but is powerless to change it. Speaking of the daughter, this is Aiko, a sweet, innocent 18-year-old who gets along with everyone. She asks where her father is and flirts with one of his employees. I hope nothing bad happens to her. She goes to see her father, who is weighing his options. While the father doesn't say why he's against the marriage arrangement, it's obvious he knows the son is no gentleman. He even says his daughter would be a, quote, sacrificial lamb. We learn that he raised Aiko alone after his wife passed away. He doesn't want to marry her off to save his company and take away her future. How bad can the son be? Aiko comes in wearing her late mother's wedding veil, asking how she looks. Aiko admits she overheard their conversation and agrees to marry the son. The father tries to talk her out of it, saying he'll just work harder to save his company. She replies that if he could save the company by working harder, then he wouldn't be worrying so much. Aiko says that she can't bear to see the employees suffer, and they tearfully embrace. I sure hope nothing bad happens to these characters! Sometime later, we see Aiko in a wedding dress walking down the aisle with the son. The son says that he will take good care of her, which horrifies her. She turns to her father, but it's too late, and she's taken away. The poor father's left standing there in regret. We cut to one of the father's employees who is upset about the marriage. It's safe to assume that it's an open secret that the son mistreats his partners. Aiko is taken to the son's, adult playroom, where she is thrown onto the bed as he prepares to consummate the marriage. She is tied up, he cuts off her clothes and says he wants to know if she's a virgin. Aiko is then in pain the whole time while the son is enjoying her pain. When he's finished, he tells his bodyguard it's his turn. The son makes Aiko pleasure him in many ways, including licking his popsicle, having objects inserted between her legs, and drinking his piss. Aiko's father is looking through a photo album, remembering how much Aiko tried to make him happy, like cooking and buying gifts for him on his birthday. The son goes even further with torturing Aiko by putting her on this medieval torture device. I didn't know what it was, so I looked it up. It's called the Spanish donkey or the wooden horse. A person sits on the pointy top. Sometimes weights are tied around the ankles to keep the person in place. It causes extreme pain down there. The humiliation doesn't end. The son inserts alcohol between her legs and she is forced to hold it in, but pisses herself all while the bodyguard is recording it. Then it cuts to Aiko being tied up, her legs spread open. 2 candles are lit and inserted between her legs, and candle wax drips all over her privates. How did the mangaka come up with this? Did Horikawa read about it or come up with it on his own? Has Horikawa acted on these fantasies? Don't answer that. The son's father walks in, and of course he knows what's going on and even joins in. Yeah, they have a three-way. All the while, Aiko misses her father and wonders what he's doing. The father begs to let them see his daughter but is turned away by their bodyguard. When the businessman is told the father stopped by, he remarks that he was going to cut ties with the company anyway, adding that Aiko came to them of her own free will. That means their sacrifices were for nothing. The father lost his company and his daughter. Come to think of it, after rereading this, Aiko was never shown outside the dungeon. So not only is she not allowed to see her father, but is not allowed to leave the house. Remember how people reacted in the beginning to the marriage? It is clear that Aiko isn't the first woman he's done this to. I started coming up with this backstory in my head about his acts of torturing women being reported in the media, but nothing being done because of his wealth and status. Maybe I'm looking too deep into this. Maybe Horikawa didn't intend to have a message about how the rich get away with their crimes, and it's only an outlet for their fantasies. Where was I? Oh yes, the son forces Aiko to have a mock wedding with a dog. If you saw my slave contract video, then you know where this is going. Whew. The father once again begs to see his daughter since Father's Day is coming up. My heart breaks for him. The last 2 pages end with the father coughing blood, presumably passing away from stress, and Aiko doing something inappropriate with the dog. If you saw my slave contract video, then you must be thinking, this is nearly identical to the first story about Fuyuko. It has the dead parent, videotaping sexual scenes, and ending with a dog scene. Did Goro Horikawa just write the same story twice? Yes, but what about the other chapters? The other stories don't get any better. The next chapter is Female Teacher. Our next poor unfortunate soul is Mari-sensei, who is a teacher at a school for delinquents. I wonder if these are the same students who blackmailed Fuyuko in slave contract. One student in particular, Kido, likes to talk dirty, making it difficult for Mari-sensei to teach. Another student notes how sad she's been lately. The teacher brings up her concerns to the principal, but everyone is afraid to discipline Kido because his family has connections with the Yakuza. Since no one wants to step in, she decides to sit down and talk to Kido. Mari-sensei thinks she can get through to him. Kido pretends to let his guard down so he can touch her. He then proceeds to essay her. Mari-sensei tries to fight back, but it doesn't work. Mari-sensei is left traumatized and cries that night. When she tries to tell the principal, he talks her out of going public with this. He says that according to Kido, she made the first move. He then follows it up by saying perhaps it was her fault for being so open, causing her to leave the office in tears. Later that night, Mari-sensei is crying in her apartment, thinking about giving up teaching when she gets a knock at the door. Kido and his henchmen force their way inside. They take off her clothes, tie her up, and essay her in every way you can think of. That includes making her lick his popsicle. A week later, Mari-sensei returns to school wearing a revealing outfit Kido picked out. One student tries to say something, but he gets kicked out by the other students. She begins her lesson by writing on the chalkboard when Kido gets excited by what she's wearing and proceeds to assault her in front of the class. The other students also get excited and join in. Mari-sensei starts licking their popsicles and pleasures multiple students at once. The student who got kicked out watches the whole thing and beats his meat. I kind of thought he was the character who would... Up until this point, I thought this one student was the one who would oppose this type of behavior. But no, he turns out to actually enjoy it as well. This goes on all day. The next day, Mari-sensei prepares for their next lesson with a smile on her face. The last story is called Kaede's Sword. It starts with a student getting bullied by a group of delinquents, and high schooler Kaede saves the day with her sword. Wait, are these the same delinquents from the last chapter? I don't know, you decide. At first, this seems like a different manga. Kaede's design is different from how Horikawa usually draws female characters. The punks are tired of getting their butts kicked, so they go to a guy named Yadori for help. He only agrees to help them after learning Kaede's family runs a dojo that is in the way of his business. Later, we learn Kaede takes care of her elderly grandfather, whose health is declining. I sure hope nothing bad happens to these characters. Kaede runs into the same punks, including Yadori. She tries to take them out, but Yadori knocks her unconscious. She wakes up tied to a bed and, you guessed it, proceeds to get essayed by him. Yadori has taken pictures of the assault and threatens to send them to her grandfather unless she keeps quiet. Kaede then has to pleasure the delinquents. Then they tie her up and shove wooden swords inside her and burn her with candles. And also piss on her. And make her act like a dog by walking on all fours. Before letting her go, one guy inserts a liquid into her and tells her to go to school. When she gets to school, she can't hold it in and pisses herself in front of all her classmates. So yeah, not only is she scarred physically and mentally, but her reputation at school is ruined. She walks home in the rain to find her grandfather passed away.
Oh my God!
She goes out to find Yadori, sword in hand. I wonder if this will be like I Spit on Your Grave type of story, with Kaede tracking down and killing everyone who wronged her. Oh no, he easily overpowers her. Later, Kaede is filming adult scenes, accepting her role is to only pleasure men. Her dojo is then sold. That's it. That's the end of Pet Humiliation Diary. Since this manga is similar to his other work, it got me thinking what his other stories are like. I went down the Horikawa rabbit hole and there were some surprises. I checked out the manga he made after Pet Humiliation Diary. His art style changed and I don't like it. He draws the female characters with tiny heads on large bodies, possibly to get you to pay attention to their boobs and thighs. I know it's an art choice, but I still don't like it. I prefer the shoujo-inspired art style from Slave Contract. There's one story set in the future about 3 women who get assaulted by ugly-looking men. They're tied up, essayed repeatedly, and get covered in a white substance. Another story is set in medieval times with these female warriors going to battle. They get captured and assaulted by ugly-looking men. They're tied up, they're repeatedly essayed and covered in a white substance. I'm surprised Horikawa hasn't run out of ideas. He always follows the same formula. Not only are his other works the same as this manga, but he also creates fanfiction. Not only are his other works the same as this manga, but he also creates fanfiction. One fanfiction is about Super Mario Bros., in which Princess Peach gets essayed by Bowser.
Oh my God!
Yes, this is real. I didn't read all of it, but it is similar to his other work. One of the last things I expected to find was a Super Mario fanfic. There's also a Saint Seiya parody called Saint Psycho. At one point I had to stop reading because I felt like I was going insane reading the same type of story over and over. Okay, not exactly the same story, he does change the character design slightly, the setting and backstory, but the plot is the same. The young virgin woman is going to be essayed by ugly male characters, and she either never escapes or accepts it. Slave Contract was shocking to me the first time because I went in blind not knowing the mangaka's other work. If you told me when I started this channel that I would be reviewing BDSM manga, I wouldn't have believed you. Sure, I like to talk about disturbing manga, like I want to talk about Metamorphosis or Mai-chan's Daily Life, but not this type of story where a mangaka just writes very specific kinks. Surprisingly, I didn't enjoy it because I'm not the target audience. I will say that the saddest story of all of his works I've read was the first story, The Young Bride, which is funny because I just said all his stories are the same, but this one was the saddest. I felt so bad for the father. He got more development than the other parents in his stories that die. I also felt bad for Aiko. I just felt bad. I love their bond. I just love how close they were, and she just wanted to make him happy. And I felt so bad when it was revealed that the son is not who he said he was, and there was just nothing they could do about it. There was nothing the father could do to save her. That's just depressing. I don't know who to recommend this to other than people who enjoyed Slave Contract, or if you're Marquis de Sade. It's free online and someone watching will check it out. I can't stop you, I'm not your mom. Just know what you're getting into. This is the last Goro Horikawa manga I'm reviewing. No more of these kinds of stories. If you read one Goro Horikawa manga, you've read them all. If you like this video, then consider subscribing, liking, or sharing. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to burn my hard drive, take a shower, and watch cartoons. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for stopping by.